Personal mastery is the process of living a life well lived, shedding our limiting beliefs, and really showing up in life. The path is really about your inner work for outer action, and in a constant state of learning about yourself and also the reality in which you exist. We've been looking deeper at what this means and looking at the multidimensional layers of personal mastery, so the energetic, the spiritual, the physical, the emotional, and the mindset levels. We've covered some great experts in those fields and looked at some tools and techniques that we can use. But today I really want to help you apply these tools in a meaningful way and help you answer the question, how do I use them within my life? So in today's video, you're going to learn how to simplify your process. I'm going to link it to something called black box thinking, and really a way to look at your thinking and look at that internal process in quite an objective way. You're going to learn how to map out your reality and your lived experience. And you're going to learn 3 practical ways in how to use your mastery toolbox within your life. If you're new to my channel, please click the subscribe button and click the bell. That way you'll be notified each and every week when I release new content. So when you've done that, let's dive straight in. I'm Raju Saini, coach, speaker, and here to support you along your path to personal mastery. And really that's what today is all about. It's gonna take the tools that we've been covering and kind of the concepts that we've looked at and lay them out into your life to give you a process to follow. So on to part 1 of today's video. How to simplify your process. And we're going to link this to black box thinking. Once you're on this path of seeking freedom, it can be confusing, it can be overwhelming, and it can be frustrating. Your ability to know that you have an area of yourself to work on is clear, but you just don't know where to start or what the most effective thing is to put your focus on first. It's important to say that this can't be rushed, and at times it's more important to let go of the process completely. Otherwise, it's just going to make life more challenging. That said, we can make our process of growth and development more effective and intuitive. This is where I'm going to teach you a new process to apply to your thinking. And it's been really effective in my life. And it's taken from the analogy of black box thinking that's used within the aviation industry. In the airline industry, failure is taken seriously. And so within each aircraft, there's an almost indestructible box, and that's called the black box. So when there's an accident or an incident, the black box is removed from the plane, the data is analysed, and then there's a process or an adaptation that's taken, a learning really that's taken from the event that's taken place. And this is then spread throughout the aviation industry into all airlines. So there's a continual learning process to continually make airline travel so safe, and it is one of the most safest ways to travel. And so I found it really effective to take this framework and put it into life. And so it helps get perspective and clarity on not only what's happening, but where to put focus. So let's break this down. I want to break this down into kind of really clear steps. There are 3 steps that I'm going to teach you now. And I want you to kind of allow your awareness, allow yourself to start to kind of reflect on this, and to not only during this video whilst you're watching it, but in the hours and days that follow this video, like really start to kind of think, bring awareness to this. And really it all starts from awareness, and awareness is, once you start to develop awareness of that inner world, life opens up. And not only does it open up, but you start to see patterns, and we're going to dive into it right now. So step 1 is the incident or the accident. And so the simplest way of seeing this is what's showing up for you right now. What's happening within your life? Now that could be what outbursts have you recently had? What emotions are you feeling? It could be that you've had a drop in positivity. It could be that you're just in a period of stickiness or frustration with yourself, with other people, with the situation. Being in this step just requires you to be aware of, firstly, how do you feel? And where have you been knocked off your center? What's happened? And are there any surface reasons why you found it hard to get that center back, to regain your center? Kind of, as I said, it's about awareness, bringing awareness, sharpening awareness on your inner world. Step 2 is reflection, or looking at the data, linking back to the analogy of the aviation world. This is about looking objectively at what's showing up, not getting lost in our narratives and our stories, but being quite objective and looking for patterns with regards to what's going on within our life. Questions you could ask yourself are, what keeps repeating for you? What patterns can you see? You know, what are you starting to notice that keeps popping up? There's a similarity that keeps popping up. And what is becoming frustratingly familiar? Linking to my life, you know, that could be There's a general sense of frustration, a general sense of whatever that is. And it could be showing up with multiple different people. It could be showing up the same person in different situations, but there's a theme coming up, and me or you are the only constant in that. If you're the one that's constantly feeling these sensations, these emotions within you, that to me is a signal to pay attention to that pattern, to that familiar sense that you have. Really, the fundamental aspect to it, it's about learning to recognize these familiar patterns that are showing up, and importantly, without judgment. Just allowing them and noticing them rather than being critical, self-critical, that negative inner chat that we all have, but just to be curious. That's interesting, that's coming up again, that sensation, that feeling, that emotion. Okay, the final step 3, is adaptation, and really kind of processing change. So learning from what's happened and creating change within our life. And so this is really about reaching into your toolbox and using a combined approach towards what's showing up for you. And the point here is about actively practicing change, because if we don't, we'll continue old ways of being or assume that they'll change, but they won't. They'll just stay the same. Without that focused strategy towards change, will just remain the same. So on to part 2 of today's video, beginning to map out reality and your lived experience. We experience time linearly. So there's the present moment, or really what's more accurate is the deep now, where we're completely immersed in right now, we're not distracted. And so that's arguably the only place where we access our true self, or where our true self really exists, where we get access to our full range of choice, influence and impact. Now, if we're not in the deep now, then we're only in one of two places, the past or the future. And typically what has pulled us there? And usually something in this present moment we've made a judgment on, which is either not enough, not good enough, not fun enough, not safe enough, a host of core needs that just aren't being met. We need to notice here, and again, noticing and our awareness are our primary actions towards freedom. It's easy to get lost in trying to rush things, which we've discussed previously in the sense that it just creates more struggle. And so what's really going on here is we're in a place of vigilance, of safety. Is this like the last time something bad happened to me? Or do I need to take action to stop something bad happening? There are many reasons why this could be happening. This could be daydreaming towards a new job, a new pay rise. This could be a reorganization at work. This could be a difficult conversation that you need to have with your partner. A million different reasons. But ultimately, the fear of something, is coming from a place of fear, is drawing us away from the present moment. So looking at the tools that we covered in the mini-series that we looked at in the layers of personal mastery, the one that fits here is introspection. And so the idea of that internal awareness, the internal sensing or internal perception of what's going on. Our bodily awareness is really one of the only key tools that we have in any situation. It's the start point. It's really the start point to everything, and it kind of highlights again the idea of awareness. What's happening within my physicality? Am I getting reacted? What's going on within my body? When we look at how we communicate, only 17% of it is verbal. The rest is resonance. So how we move our body, the eye contact, the tone of our voice, our posture, and coherence, literally everything else. So when we've been pulled out of the present, when we're not in the present moment and we're in the past or the future, the first thing to do is to quieten our internal narrative. And so how do we do that? It's about connecting to our body and our interoception. And the simplest way of doing that is bringing our hand to our stomach and connecting to our breath. That's it. It's as simple as that. The second thing we have influence on is our vitality. If your tank is low, if you've been depleted, you're more easily going to get triggered into a fearful or painful past or future. And most importantly, we won't have the vitality to bring ourselves out of it. We'll remain stuck within that. This is why a consistent self-care practice is fundamental to personal mastery. It's you at full strength. It's you self-aware. It's you connected to your breath. It's you expanding your perception and perspectives. That's really the overwhelming first step. And once you've done that, you can show up as your best self, but 2, you can help other people. On to part 3 of today's video. Practical ways to use your mastery toolbox within your life. Now it's time to use an effective strategy to adapt now, and to adapt to make that active, purposeful change. All this means is being able to diffuse the situations in your life, to kind of make change, to reframe things, or to reframe how things are showing up within your life that are holding you back. So most of today's video has been about the inner world, like the introspection, the feeling, the awareness of the inner awareness of what's going on, and also what's showing up within our life. This part is now kind of the cognitive side, if you want to look at it like that, like the tools and something particularly a pattern interrupt. So how can we interrupt our normal default behaviors, default thought processes, all of that kind of things? How can we kind of influence those in a positive, healthy way? And the way I like to look at it is, the game we're playing is we're paying attention to how we pay attention. And so the first one, it's all well and good saying you need to bring awareness into your body, but how do you do that? How do you remember to do that? And so the first pattern interrupt I'm going to introduce you is to ask yourself the question, when you notice you're getting triggered or something's happening within your life that's uncomfortable, you're noticing a pattern in your life, asking yourself the question, does this inform me or does this affect me? So does this inform me means what are the factual data that you've got access to that's supporting the reason why you feel the way you do in that moment? Or is it based on assumption? So an example could be, something happened to me the other day was a text message conversation, and I sent a message to someone because I felt I said something that I didn't mean in a conversation. And that person took all day to get back to me. Now, the factual data, what informs me is that I've sent a message, it's been received and it's been read. That's the facts. But without being aware of my mind, like the mind starts to try to make sense of that. And so this person has taken offense, this person doesn't want to respond to me, this person doesn't like me. Again, a million different reasons. But without spotting it, we're going to be led and guided and potentially escalate that communication when it's not needed at all, or whatever other behaviors may come from that. So that was a real life example how that showed up with me. And then, does this affect me? Does this affect my physiology? What's happening in my body with a situation? And so if I link it back to that situation, then I felt a sense of, there was contraction in my body, there was, I guess, an elevated heart rate. So, my body was I was having a reaction to it. And I can control that. I can take control of that. So I hope that gives you an understanding of how to use that pattern interrupt. Does this inform me or does this affect me? And that's going to help you bring your awareness into your body. So the second aspect to this, we've covered awareness, now reflection. And so the pattern interrupt is, what am I pretending not to know? That's the first one. And this relates to mindset. And so mindset being, are you coming at it from a fixed mindset? Are you seeing limitations? Are you saying to yourself you can't do something? Are you judging people? Are you blaming people? Have you perceived something as criticism rather than being able to use that information to help yourself grow? The second question I'm going to invite you to ask yourself is, what's underneath the reaction that you're having? And this relates to the triggers, or Gabor Mate's triggers, and compassionate inquiry. And so, what's underneath that limiting belief? What's underneath your outburst? What's fueling your judgment? What's the core limiting belief or painful experience that's potentially coming through in that moment? And as Gabor Mate said in the video we covered, it's the past is only relevant in the sense that it informs how we're acting now. Reliving our past experience is not useful. But if it keeps showing up in the sense of anger, underneath anger could be a sense of a lack of worthiness. Could be a sense of unworthiness under that. So just to summarize, in reflection, the tools we're looking at is one, mindset. What mindset have you got in a situation? And two, compassionate inquiry. What is the root cause to the reaction that you're having? Can you kind of dust off that the surface reaction to get to the kind of the uncovering of that root? And so the third aspect to this is a reset routine. This is where peak states or ecstatic states of consciousness becomes a tonic for both inspiration and healing. We get a release on a physical, on emotional, on an energetic and potentially spiritual level. We're letting go of our mental processing, we're resetting our physiology, and we're potentially gleaming new insights. So if we don't do this intentionally, we're probably going to do it unconsciously via numbing. So we'll either binge watch on Netflix, we'll overeat, we'll overdrink, we'll overshop, or we'll just have a mindless use of substances in our life. And so I want to kind of bring your attention to how you can do this. And so there's a daily practice, so meditation, energy work, breath work, some form of daily where you're tuning in purposely to work through those levels. So work through an energetic level, energetic kind of meditation, energetic breath work to begin to kind of help your energy circulate throughout your body. Then we can look at weekly practices. So how can you build into your week a deeper experience? And so one of the easiest way is a breath practice. You could begin to combine practices, so breath work and music. And then look at, say, a monthly experience. And so a bigger experience with intention. And this is where the ideas of Jamie Wheel came through, at looking at the combination of any one or all of these. So breath with music, with sexuality, with substances, and with movement. Yeah, it's not that we have to include all 5, but each one on their own is a very, very potent trigger. When you start to combine them, they increase the amplitude of that experience and the effects that they have. There are, of course, many, many other ways of approaching this. But what I've learned from both coaching clients and also my own lived experience, this framework offers a process of investigation towards what can be a very confusing landscape. Time, self-compassion, and a balance of effort, as well as letting go, is what helps this process evolve. Now over to you. I hope this has offered you a process to kind of at least think about. If you haven't got a process already, it's offered you something to kind of contemplate. So I'd love to hear what you think of this. Is this something that you do already? Is this a new way of thinking about things for you, and is it helpful? Have you got other ways that you go about this process of kind of really the core element to personal mastery, which is understanding our thoughts, feelings, and actions? If you're still watching this video, the chances are that you've already downloaded our free guide, The 4 Simple Steps to Self-Care. And if you haven't, the link is below. And so I'm excited to say that we're opening our doors to our coaching program, Personal Mastery Coaching, the Path of Inner Work for Outer Action. And all the details are below for you to check out. It's an 8-week program, really designed to kind of help integrate and apply all of these details in a very step-by-step approach, where you get video tutorials, you get group coaching, and many other things to help you kind of embed all of these principles in a very applicable way. And I said the details are below. So check those out. Thank you so much for watching this video. And like I said, really looking forward to hearing from you and how you found this process and this information. So thank you again, and looking forward to seeing you on another video.